Hi guys, good morning. I'm seeing no one's on here yet, but I feel like I better not just let it run. Hi there. If you are on Facebook, if you want to leave a comment that I can see with your name, which I prefer, you have to click a little thing. There should be uh an announcement that says to click on a link. It's really easy. You just click on it and click again, and that it basically is giving like a privacy permission for between Facebook and this streaming service. Hi, good morning. I never do stuff on a weekend, but for some reason this time I thought, well, let me mix up like different times and maybe that'll be better for some people. So we'll see. Um, let's see. So today we're going to be getting into body detox and getting into some specifics. So the book is divided into three sections: discover, do, and develop. And so now we're in section two. Dis- I'm sorry, do. Um, and we're really kind of like prepping for detox, getting ready for detox, talking about diet, getting our feet wet a little bit with like detox techniques and stuff. And then next class, we'll go deeper dive. And then I'm adding one more class. I haven't announced yet, but we'll do it. We'll add a class to kind of close things up and do case studies. Hi to my one person on here. What's your name? I'm curious who's on here. Maybe Saturday mornings aren't the best time. But anyway, people will get the recording. Okay. So a few other announcements. I may announce this again later. Well, actually, I'll just save it because hello, Mrs. Dillard. Um, I'll save it since we don't have too many people on yet. So it's just you and me, friend. So I'm gonna share screen and get started. And if you have any questions, fire away. Okay, so just once again, please also be working with a medical doctor or a team of providers, and also be working with a professional mold inspector or mediator as needed. So we'll talk about a lot of general information today, but it's important to, have other opinions because I don't know your case personally. Okay, so order of detox is make sure you're doing all the foundational things before you start pushing toxins around in the body. Because when you start to push toxins around, if you can't get them to exit, you will feel more inflamed. Things will just kind of worsen. And part of that is diet, with which many of you are, good with your diets. But I know there can be a lot of questions around diet because there's so many opinions. So I'm happy to take any questions. And then we'll start getting into techniques and supplements today, but we'll do more of 4 and especially 5 next time. So as we talk through these, if you can, jot down for yourself where you do need to do some work, I think that's best. I have 10 foundations in the book, but I made since then a little quiz that bumps that up to 15 because I ask you some other things like, are you still living in a moldy home? Do you have a doctor? So I'll give you that resource on that last case study class. So, foundation number one is getting out in nature. And while this sounds so simple, it's actually super, super important for you, especially with mold from a water damaged building. Your home has become unsafe. Outdoor air is actually fresher than indoor air now. Um, nature is healing, the sounds and the shapes of nature are healing. You're getting, vitamin D depending on the season. If you're at the ocean, you're getting negative ions. It all helps put you in the parasympathetic state and just reduce your exposure to the things that are going to keep you sick. So, some people do a complete nature immersion to heal. There are a lot of success stories of people going to, live kind of a camping situation for a year and really healing that way. So that can be an option. You do need money for food and that kind of a thing, but you can live on certain government land called the BLM land for free as long as you move every 14 days. So there are, options out there and resources out there to learn more about that. But even just being outside a lot is healing. So if you're going to be, if you're still not out of your home, but you can be in your backyard most of the time, even like sleep on a screened in porch. Um, I would just have you for at this point ask like how much time are you outside and could you be outside more? Even if you live somewhere cold and it's winter, even getting outside for, a 20-minute walk is great. Another important thing is avoiding toxins. So now that you've been exposed to an airborne irritant, you're going to be more sensitive to other airborne irritants. And you just have to watch fragrance in the home, dust in the home, that kind of a thing. And I cover that deeper in the third section of the book. Getting movement also simple but super important. Really like fresh air and movement, those two things can do quite a bit for you. So even if you're really fatigued, just starting to get, moving more, taking little walks. You don't want to exercise to the point where you have a lot of inflammation and poor recovery. If that's happening, you need more antioxidants. So we can talk about that more, but that's actually something I'm still kind of playing around with is my antioxidant status. I'm super interested in that. So things like vitamin C, vitamin A, vitamin E, turmeric, CoQ10, glutathione, all these things can help you recover from the oxidative stress of exercise when your oxidative state is kind of imbalanced from the stress of toxins. So yeah, just taking good care of your body, getting massage potentially. I love weight bearing exercise. I think it's really important. So, doing a little weightlifting, doing some, I used to do reformer Pilates is a great workout. Just tons of benefits, right? And it's moving lymph and blood, which helps facilitate toxins moving out of the body. Also helps make bowel movements happen, helps, sweating happen. And are you taking time to rest and take care of yourself? So, sleeping and resting are two different things, right? Like, do you have daytime hours where you're just chilling and not, worrying or studying, but just like letting your mind relax? Again, we heal in the parasympathetic state. So, we want to, um, you know, get in that and be in that as much as possible. So ask yourself, are you doing this one? Here's just some more ideas for self care. So it can be, big stuff like, getting a house cleaner, or it can just be little things, right? Like calling a friend. So sleeping is really important for healing as well. So you guys may, since you're so smart, know about the lymphatic system, which is like the lymphatic system for the brain. The brain actually, the neurons like pull back. And so the brain, in a sense, kind of shrinks and makes space for lymph to kind of clean out the area. So sleeping is, super important. Also, positive things are happening with your hormones while you sleep. So I have some tips coming up. I actually really encourage, and I have a big example of this in the book. Like, you've got to be sleeping if you want to detox. Like, you can't be, trying to detox and sleeping 4 hours a night. So make sure you get this taken care of. There's lots of options to make it happen. Lots of water. This is an easy one in a sense, but just make sure you're hitting it while you detox because you're going to be passing toxins, through the urine. And then hopefully you're using a sauna too. So you want to be hydrating and you can get it from plain water. But I also really like, I think your body likes too, getting it from other sources so that it's not going right through you, so to speak. It's like I don't know if you guys ever feel this, but it's like you almost if you drink like tap water, it's like missing something. It feels a little hollow. So adding a little sea salt or adding some electrolyte powders, which I'm drinking right now, my electrolyte, is a great idea. Okay, this may be seem like an odd one, but it's really important to keep your emotional, kind of spiritual center while you go through this process because it's really potentially going to rattle you and you're going to have to make a lot of hard decisions, but those decisions feel easier when you're clear on what's most important to you. So if that's your family's health or, not fighting with your relatives or whatever it is, having some little time to journal. I think we've got a slide coming up about that. Um, and just kind of check in with like, what are you working on? What's best for you today? What's best for you to engage in versus not, is going to have you come out on the other side of this much better. So I'll just share a little story while I was writing the book. Um, and I was getting ready for the master class. I was just feeling, burnt out. And my coach said, when you look back on this time, you want to look back at how you did it. And were you like kind to yourself? And, did you rest and did you speak nicely to yourself? Or do you just want to look back and be like, oh my gosh, that sucked. Like, I'm glad that's over. Like, we none of us want to look back like that. So even something really difficult, we can add some sweetness to it so that when we do look back, we can say, I really learned a lot in that time and some people really came to support me and I supported myself. So just staying on that, like, what's happening around you may not be what you want, but you do have some control about how you react to it, how your day feels, that kind of a thing. This part is sometimes I think not the lesson people want from me, so to speak, but I actually think it's some of the most important stuff because it is just a very challenging time in your life. And if you can reframe it so it's just gentler and softer and the universe is supporting you, and I have something about that in the book, instead of it being a hostile universe, it really does make a big difference in your overall experience of this. And I think it makes a difference on how you'll come out, right? If you kind of hold on to fears and trauma, you're not transforming it. So you've got to give it an opportunity to transform and let you come out a better person. So to that end, instead of getting overwhelmed, which I totally understand how that would happen, uh, pick little projects to do and then congratulate yourself when you get them done. And let me just say, if it ends up you're really sick that day or for a week and you can't get it done, it's okay too. Just be gentle with yourself. Yeah, on a similar note, thinking about who you're going through this with. So, this is a time where it's okay to receive help, ask for help, invite new people into your life who can help you. And that might be new practitioners, people in support groups. Um, even you may make a good friend with your mold remediator. Like, there's a lot of people who do want to help you. So focusing on the people who do want to help you and not the people who don't want to help you is important. I think it's easy. You can get stuck on like, well, so and so doesn't believe me or so and so doesn't support me. Well, just don't focus on that person. And I know that some of you don't have a big network of people supporting you, but I promise you, if you do take some steps to meet more folks, even if it's going to a yoga class or whatever it is, like, some of us as adults have kind of lost our ability to meet new people. So I actually think there's some opportunity in this crisis to find some new help and new support and new quality friends. Diet, we'll talk more about today, but this is an acronym I came up with, just kind of a general rule for, healthy eating. Again, we'll get more into it. But I would say, as you review, just make sure you're eating real food and not eating like a lot of, junk food, processed food. I would say that's like step one. And then lastly, I really recommend you're taking some basic supplements before you get into fancy detox supplements. So be supporting your gut, your detox, your liver with things like B vitamins, fish oils for inflammation in your brain. Magnesium does many things in the body, but it helps calm your body. Your body, while it's detoxifying, will use up a lot of nutrients. So you definitely need to be replacing them. Even though it may not seem as like sexy to just take basic vitamins, it's important to take these in a high quality form. So here's a little list for you. We can take any questions on this later. So here's our essential supplements. So when we started our supplement line, again, we started with the basics because they're important. Sorry, just making a little note. Okay, detox. Now we're talking about opening up the detox pathway. So let's say you've worked on all those things. Um, And when I added to my, top 15 list, make sure you're pooping too. Um, don't start detoxing until you're pooping. And there's recommendations on the book in that. And we'll have more here. So just make sure, you're able to sweat, you get some exercise, you're sleeping, you're breathing, you're taking some deep breaths. And that's make sure that toxins have a way to go out. Now, some people say that they don't sweat. Your body can learn to sweat, except in some pretty rare instances, like certain conditions. So sometimes you have to sort of get used to sauna to start sweating again. But I think, again, except for rare exceptions, it will happen. However, if you don't tolerate sauna well, you get too much side effects, it's okay to do a low heat sauna where you don't really sweat. Okay. So if you find you can't tolerate a high heat sauna for whatever reason, low heat is okay because things are still happening on the inside, even if you're not pouring out sweat. So ideally, we actually want to poop more than once a day while we're detoxing, right? Because it's just more opportunities for things to go out rather than recirculate. Our new binder that's coming out tomorrow is pretty strong for moving your bowels. So I'm excited to see your guys' feedback on that. But here's some more tips. Also, and I think it says this in the book. Oh, wait, yeah, there's more coming. Um, Taking a digestive enzyme for me personally really helps. Doing the mega pre fiber and the megaspore really help me too. I'm sorry, yeah, the omega 3 fiber and the omega spore. Some people really like castor oil packs for that. Um, if you're really stopped up, doing a coffee enema, it does, get things moving. So, finding the edge about how much detox you can handle can occasionally push you over the edge, which is okay. But you want to pull back if you do go, you start feeling symptomatic. So, what can happen is people feel very upset when they have a detox reaction, but it's just information, right? So, back up, add antioxidants, add a binder, add water, this type of thing. Just calm whatever is coming up for you, and then try a lower dose. Or if you feel like something is just not a fit for you at all, you can take it out. But often backing it up works, or taking a little time off, or what have you. So this thing is called a Hertz reaction. You may have heard. I think it was originally named from the die off of like bacteria, and here it explains that. But now people kind of use it for um, any sort of detox reaction. So just here's for another example. When I got my hyperbaric oxygen chamber, I didn't really realize what was going on at first, but I was having some die off then. So here's some potential ways to calm a reaction. And these are just some tips about, doing your therapies. And this is all in the book as well in a little more detail. So we looked at this earlier, but I just kind of touching base again. So we've talked about foundations, detox pathways. Now we're getting into the diet a little bit more. So here's some more quote unquote basics, though, that are still really important. Eat real food, chew your food well. Um, you shouldn't be like chewing with your mouth open. That's like getting a lot of air into your system. Um, and you shouldn't be drinking like a big drink of water while you're eating. I know that's sort of something here in America that we give out at a restaurant, but you can have some sips, but you really should not be drowning your stomach acid in a bunch of water. Water is for between meals. So if you're not practicing some of these things, and some of these are challenging for me, I eat really fast and it's hard for me to slow myself down. One thing you can do is put your fork down between every bite. But eating in a more relaxed environment, not eating on the run, it does make a difference in how you digest. And right now, your digestion is probably not working as well as you'd like it to. So doing things like chewing well make an even bigger difference. So here's some other things that can support digestion, little supplements and tricks, so to speak. Everybody's different. Some people like hydrochloric acid. I particularly love enzymes. So you can try different things and see what you like. But the bitter taste stimulates digestion, as does smelling and chewing. So we just want to encourage good digestion. Okay, getting a little more specific on potentially moldy foods. Some of these are also inflammatory. And you don't necessarily, have to have none of these, but I would be aware of them, to see if you're reacting to them. And if you have things like, spices you've had for like 2 years, I would get rid of those. Like spices are really supposed to be fresh. Um, I keep all my nuts in the fridge. I either eat them raw or soaked. Occasionally, I'll have like a roasted nut, but I never like it's always really like high quality. I personally don't have any problem with nuts, but some people may. Popcorn, I really think is to be avoided. So some of these foods have some overlap. So, like for example, alcohol, coffee, tea, they have some overlap with histamine issues. So I find that a lot of things on this list kind of have more than one issue. So dairy products are another, very inflammatory, hard to break down, especially because they're pasteurized. So yes, it could be moldy because of what the cattle eat. Um, I know you can buy grass fed and raw and better quality. That's actually preferable. Um, but if you're, having store bought cheese or something, it's just usually hard to digest for your body, in addition to possibly having mold. FODMAP diet is the diet I tried while I was sick, and it might be something you want to try. So I wouldn't have said that I had a lot of bloating necessarily as I was going through this, but I did have, some IBS. Actually, I had more like loose stool. It definitely, when I would eat more like of a whole food diet, it would help. But I tried the FODMAP diet for like a month, and it helped teach me some foods that were maybe especially irritating for me when I added them back. So I learned about this as in the context of detox from Dr. Suzanne Bennett. And she said, let's see, yeah, that the gases produced, particularly a hydrogen sulfide gas, can inhibit mitochondrial function already inhibited by toxic mold. So it's pretty interesting. Just some stress on your cells. So I think you can do, digestive enzymes and chew well and that kind of a thing, but it could be a diet to try temporarily for all these reasons. And here's one resource of a woman who has a nice checklist. We have a blog about it as well. I think it's in the book too. So these are foods to avoid. They basically have fibers that your body is going to break down with bacteria. So you're going to have more gas. And I know this is a long list, but you can see the slide later or go to the book. And here's some low FODMAP foods. So, I had avoided this diet for a while because I thought, oh my gosh, it's such a pain. But basically, if you bring to the store what you can eat and look for those things, it's not that hard. And it's only like a month. So, there's obviously still lots of things to eat on this list. So that's one diet option is low FODMAP, and another is a low histamine diet. So we're going to talk about histamines here. I think histamine intolerance to high histamines is a big cause of a lot of the symptoms that people go through. Although I would also say just low antioxidant status is another thing. I mean, there's a lot of symptoms with mold, but I think a lot of like the headaches, the soreness, has to do with histamines. So you break down histamine compounds in the gut with this enzyme called DAO. But if your gut isn't very healthy, then you're not necessarily breaking them down properly. So histamines can come from food, but they also will be released when you're in a chronic inflammatory state like mold. Another kind of example of histamines is seasonal allergies. So it's like an overreaction, a chronic reaction where you're making these inflammatory compounds. So you may not have all of these symptoms, but you may have some of them. You probably have some of them. So I think when I first learned about histamines, I just didn't quite get it. I just didn't really relate. But, I was having headaches, I was having digestive issues, menstrual issues, anxiety, um, Those are probably my biggest ones on this list. Fatigue. I had some post-nasal drip. So it can be from something called mast cell activation syndrome. So the mast cells of the immune system are what are making these histamines. And again, that can come from the chronic response of your body towards mold, right? It's just trying to respond, but the trigger is always there, so it doesn't go away. Also, a lot of gut imbalances can cause histamine intolerance. And we all know that your gut is usually going to be pretty messed up if you're dealing with mold. So it's like a double whammy. But lots of causes can play in. It can be worse if you're going through perimenopause. So, high histamine foods, here you're going to see some of the overlap: alcohol, um, even things like kombucha. If you find you can't really take fermented foods, you could be showing a histamine problem. Cured meats. There was a point where I couldn't have kombucha where I was when I was like really sick. But most of these things, it's never going to be everything on the list. Is generally what I find. So, like, I've never had a problem with avocados, but I've had friends like literally have, mouth swelling and sort of a numb tongue feeling from having avocado. So there's foods that have histamines, and then there's foods that trigger the release of histamines. And then there's a third list as well. So this is the triggering histamines foods. And again, you may find that some of these really do it for you. Why one reason why women don't tolerate wine when they get into midlife is because they're already having estrogen dominance. Maybe they don't have a healthy gut, and now they're having um, alcohol trigger histamine release. And some of these things can look like allergies too, right? Like shellfish allergy, pineapple allergy. And this last list blocks the breakdown of histamine by the enzyme we talked about. So here are some supplements that can help with histamines. I've tried a few of these. I think these are a good bridge, but I don't find them to be like a permanent solution necessarily. I think you need to work on gut health, potentially avoid foods. And I actually do think like antioxidants um, are one way to help as well. So vitamin C and I think quercetin too are antioxidants. Okay, now we're moving into supplements. I know I can't really see your guys' questions, but I'll go back and see if there are any questions coming up. So today we're just going to cover top supplements, top techniques. And you guys do have a coupon code as part of the book club. I put it in the Facebook group. I'll go get it again. I forgot what it is, but it's for $20 off at our shop. So electrolytes, we've talked about the importance of hydration and using your sauna. Our particular electrolyte is made for you guys, so it has extra antioxidants and B vitamins for detox. CoQ10 is also an antioxidant and helps protect your mitochondria for energy, which is a main complaint of people going through mold. Binder, we'll talk about our new binder, I think, in a minute here. Always taken away from food and medications. Glutathione, also an antioxidant. It's really depleted in a chronic toxic state. So, if tolerated, doing glutathione. Glutathione is also increased from coffee enema. And then broccoli seed and sprout is a really nice, important support for your liver and mitotoxin and chemical detox. Just a reminder here to just go slow. Don't swallow everything at once and then get frustrated. Just go little by little, see what you can do. So here's our electrolyte. Um, Sorry, I got spaced out for a second. So, another reason we didn't talk about yet why it's good to do an electrolyte is you make less of this hormone called antidiuretic hormone when you are going through mold. So, um, what was I going to say? Sorry, I got super distracted. So you can pee more and then you're going to lose more electrolytes in your urine. So that's like kind of a core issue why it's important to use electrolytes when you're going through mold in particular, but also the sauna use and the demand for nutrients that we talked about earlier. And here are some other ways to get electrolytes from your diet. If you're using salt, use a like a Celtic salt is a nice one. Don't use like the Morton's salt. It's kind of stripped down. This is a bit fuzzy, but these are the ingredients in our electrolyte. I almost regret calling it an electrolyte because it has a lot more in it than just electrolytes. It's kind of a, a multifunctional drink. And this is our binder, which comes out tomorrow. We'll show you the ingredients in a second here, but we have a bunch of like special offers as we launch some of these things. If you purchase the binder the first 2 weeks, you'll be part of a detox webinar and get an ebook on binders. We also have our glutathione coming out soon, and we'll give you a free electrolyte if you buy it. So there's a lot of fun opportunities coming up. So our binder, I made sure that it binds every category of mycotoxin. It also soothes the bowels and moves the bowels because some binders are constipating. It also moves bile and binds bile. So it basically does everything I wanted it to do. And it took a long time to get it right, but I'm pretty excited about it and excited to hear your guys' feedback on it as well. If you can't tolerate a binder that this is this complex, you can just do a single ingredient. Like you can do the fulvic humic acid, you can do just citrus pectin, just a small dose of charcoal. That's just some options. If this does have a lot of ingredients, and if you're super sensitive, sometimes multi ingredient things are just too much for you. Okay, broccoli seed and sprout. It's funny because I was pretty into this for detox, and I honestly didn't know that it supported the mycotoxin detox for a while. So when I found that out, I was pretty happy about it. And it's really good for the health of your liver, um, detoxifying from chemicals, immune health, because some immune cell maturation happens in the liver. So I always get this question. Yes, you can eat your own broccoli sprouts, grow them, buy them. Usually, most people aren't eating a ton of broccoli sprouts a day. So you actually do get more than I realized from eating them. That's awesome. You get a good serving, but you have to have more than a pinch. You need to have an actual serving. I think I have something on it here in a second. You also want to break down the sprout with heat or chewing. So broccoli and broccoli sprouts have a very different makeup. That's why the sprouts are important. But it says here 2,300 milligrams of sulforaphane if you eat a cup of broccoli sprouts a day. So that's a really nice dose. The problem is you're not going to eat that a day, but I do encourage you to buy it or grow it. And then I encourage you to have the supplement as well. So here's what ours looks like. And it has this enzyme in it that breaks down the sulforaphane into the active form. I can't remember all the details, but that's basically the idea. So, when you speed up detoxification and you take medications, it's just something to be aware of. So just talk to your doctor or look things up. Glutathione, we talked about just a minute ago that it's depleted in the presence of chronic toxicity, and it comes in lots of different forms. Um, Liposomal, you can do a IV therapy, you can do a spray, which we offer. I mentioned that coffee enemas increase glutathione. NAC is a precursor that your body can use to make glutathione. So ours is in a form called S-acetylglutathione. And so basically, because glutathione is a tiny little protein molecule, it attaches this compound to it so that it won't break down in the gut. And then once it gets into the bloodstream, it takes off that group and lets the glutathione enter the cell. So that's one benefit. It also has NAC in it, and some B6, which I think I'm trying to remember, helps glutathione production, I think. Um, I read an article, but no, I couldn't find the citation, which was saying that as far as glutathione getting into intercellular matrix or something, it was more effective than IV therapy. So I need to hunt down that. So, the con of this is it's a pill, so it's a little harder to control the dose maybe than a liquid or a spray. But you can start with, half a cap if you want to. I've never had any side effect from glutathione, but everyone's different. And if you push detoxification and you can't handle it, you can feel it, right? And then CoQ10, also an antioxidant. You may have heard of it for the heart because the heart uses a lot of it for energy. It's important for mitochondria, which are, the energy producers of your cell. So we make less CoQ10 as we age. Again, kind of like glutathione, CoQ10 can be difficult to deliver to the cell. So this one has a really specialized form. I haven't reviewed all the mechanisms in a while to explain it, but it's in a form that really lets it absorb. And it also protects other antioxidants like glutathione, vitamin E, vitamin C. So it's pretty awesome. I tried it sort of midway through my recovery and I was like, ugh, this thing's not going to work. So I took it every day for a month and then I ran out and then I started to feel more tired. And I was like, what? So then that really convinced me that I need to take it and I still take it. So this is a really potent supplement, and if you are on medications or have some serious liver issues, this is one to talk to your doctor about before taking. However, if you're on where is it? Statins, CoQ10 is a good idea to take because statins reduce your CoQ10 levels. Okay, moving into techniques. I just wanted to go check your guys' comments. Hi, Michael. I'll have to see if the email was sent out. We definitely planned to send it out, so I apologize if it didn't come. Okay, well, you guys don't have too many questions, so I'm going to keep going. Whoops. Okay, techniques. My favorite. I love techniques. I think I had some I had to take out of the book because there's just too many. It's sauna, coffee enema, Epsom salts, dry brushing, and mouth taping. I chose as my most effective. So, I was a little biased. I went with what helped me the most. I just felt like that was most sincere. But we do have more techniques we'll cover on the next class. So, dry brushing, I really, really love. It gives you some instant energy and it helps move the lymph while you're trying to detox. So, it's just a little way to get more energy in the morning, without having to do caffeine. So, you want to brush always towards your heart and not back and forth, just in one motion. We do have some dry brushes in our shop, but we're probably going to discontinue them just because they're just a few reasons. But you can usually buy them at a health food store. If you're new to it or your skin's kind of sensitive, you might want to start with a softer brush and then move to a harder brush. So our kit has both brush heads in it. And our kit even has like a little tiny brush if you want to do like your neck or your hands. I usually just do a quick dry brushing. I only take a couple of minutes. But if you want to slow it down and take like 5-10 minutes, you're going to get, a bigger effect. So this is all in the book in more detail. So I'll go, a little fast. Sauna has about a gazillion benefits. I just listed a few of them here. I think they're all just a really great investment for your home. And you can do a sauna blanket if you're on a budget. Those are more like $500. There's also some that are like a little tent that are cheaper. The most important part is A, don't put it in your moldy home, and B, use it. So 3 times a week, sort of the minimum. You can even do it every day if you're tolerating it and you're replacing your electrolytes. Again, like the temperature doesn't matter or the time doesn't matter as much as is using it to your level of tolerance frequently. Coffee enema. I always get teased about this picture because of the shirt I'm wearing. I love coffee enema. It takes oops, I'm have a typo here. It takes a while to it takes a few chimes to get used to how to do it. But it gives you again like instant energy, stimulates glutathione production. There's a compound in the coffee that does that, and it's in the book if you want to read more about it. But yeah, definitely read over the instructions a few times, give yourself a few tries to get used to it because you're going to kind of do it wrong, so to speak, the first few times. You have to get used to it. I had to send out an email to our community not too long ago, and they were saying that they wanted to learn more about detox techniques. And I've been talking about them for a long time. So I think that sometimes what's happening is it's just doing it the first time is the trouble. So, what do you do anytime you do something the first time, right? You get information, you buy the supplies you need. It's slower. You have to think more, and your brain isn't maybe working real well, but it's just step by step, right? Like, get the instructions, they're in your book, buy the supplies, set them all up. But after the first few times, you don't need to learn it at all, right? You know it. So, I feel that that's maybe what's happening is just that first trial. And you don't have to do all these things at once. You don't have to do a coffee enema ever if you don't want to, but pick the thing you want to try and get into it, right? Just do it. So maybe you're overwhelmed because you're thinking, oh, there's all these things I can do. And should I get IV therapy? And what should I do? Just pick whichever it is you want. Do you want to go just do a cold plunge? Do you want to buy a red light? I don't care what it is you choose. Just move forward with the thing you choose. Just clear out all the clutter. So again, this is in the book, so I won't linger on it too long, but this is how to do it. I'm a little shy to recommend it because it can be intense for people, potentially. So talk to a doctor, read over the warnings. Even if you just have trouble, moving around, it may be too much for you. If you're in a lot of pain or abdominal pain, or you have hemorrhoids, or something like that, it's not a fit for everyone. There's actually other types of enemas you can do too. You can do binder enemas and different things. I've just never really done those personally. Moving on to an easy one is taking an Epsom salt bath. Super easy to do. Good for calming your body, for healing, good for your liver. You just need 2 cups of salt, or you can do a salt and baking soda bath. In my bathroom, I have Epsom salt, baking soda, apple cider vinegar, and I usually just mix them up in like a cocktail. Or I don't always do all of them. And then I do some essential oils. And then mouth taping, here's what it looks like. You can buy it from a few companies, or you can just buy bandage tape like at Target. And basically, the simple thing is it keeps you from mouth breathing at night, which can, for me, meant a lot of sore throats because my immune system was poor. My throat was getting dry. But it has other benefits for your oral health and your sleep, snoring. So you basically just, you can't do it if you've got a stuffed up nose, but other than that, you can do it. And here's some examples of tape. Oops, that's the wrong side. That's it for today. Let's go to questions. Michael asked, could the infrared sauna recirculate toxins, especially when the gut is leaky, or how to prevent it? So infrared sauna is going to circulate toxins. And again, if you're sweating, you're pooping, you have a decent antioxidant status, your liver is working, you won't feel badly or react. You can also take a binder with your sauna to help capture those toxins and move them out. I think since I first had mold, I've done sauna so many times, like 500 times. I've never had a bad reaction personally, but I have some clients who are so sensitive, they can only do like 5 minutes in a sauna. So, just like any other detox agent, yes, you have to observe and watch, how's your body reacting to it. Like now, I did a sauna last night. I didn't do any binders, I didn't do anything because it doesn't bother me. And, I poop and I'm not like super sick anymore. So you can consider, and I think it's in the book, like a more in-depth routine with your sauna. And sorry, got distracted again. But yeah, or just like, change how long you do the sauna and think about which detox pathways may be a problem. Are you not pooping? Are you like sore all the time and maybe it's your antioxidant status? Like, are you still in a moldy home and like, so you're just not strong enough to detox? Consider all those things, but great question. Which herbal supplements mold easily? Yeah, so I know milk thistle is one of them actually, which is ironic because it's for the liver. So I think there can be issues potentially with herbs being moldy, but a good quality company, any kind of quality company, isn't going to really let like use moldy stuff. So I would just like choose quality things, and if ever something isn't working for you, just take it out or try a different brand. So someone asked, what natural products do you recommend adding to our soil for more vitamins and minerals if we don't want to take so many supplements? I'm growing nettles, which has helped me avert a bad asthma attack. Great natural antihistamine. Yeah, great idea. I'm not the best gardener, but I know you can add coffee grounds, right? And you can compost. You can actually do fulvic and humic acid to your soil. So those are a few things I know about. But this is an interesting question. If you don't want to take supplements for one reason or the other, Yeah, be eating a nutritious diet. I think that herbs like nettles are great. Also, like growing fresh herbs like rosemary. What was the one I'm blanking on? Like thyme. Fresh herbs like have a ton of phytonutrients, super high in antioxidants. So you can have all that stuff growing and use those things. You can make teas out of it, like this person is. I think she's using making a tea. You can certainly like grow food in your own garden. Like that's the freshest way to have food. You can go to a farmer's market. There's more organic or organic-ish food there. And it's usually fresher. Food loses nutrients, especially water soluble nutrients, like with travel time. So, like if you go to Trader Joe's and it's like spinach from Mexico and you're in, Washington State, like it's traveled, it's lost some nutrients. So local is definitely better. Fresh is great. And then all the things we talked about, like getting out in nature, dry brushing, exercising, they all go a long way to detox. And I think that's a fair point to say we can sometimes like over rely on supplements. But supplements also can give us some benefits. So, it's some personal preference and then just budget. And you don't have to necessarily take every supplement. Like you may just, take I do, like I said, I like basic supplements like multivitamin and stuff like that. But again, there's some personal preference. I think that in our modern world, it is difficult to get as much nutrients as we need from food because of food quality, soil quality, and then the toxic load we're exposed to. So supplements are just there to supplement, but if you're growing your own food, you're like making your own tea, you're fermenting your own things, you're, way beyond like the average person. And I do think your nutrition is better, but most of us aren't at that level. Plus, we're traveling, that kind of a thing. So supplements are nice for all of that. They also can be nice when you're just so sick and depleted, if that is you, that your body is having trouble like kind of coming back online. And then also you can go live in nature and that can also potentially heal you. So I think there's just lots of ways to do detox, and we can get there can be these arguments online about the best ways and stuff, but we don't necessarily have to. um, you know we can have an open mind that lots of things can help us heal. Good question also. Oh, here's another. You guys are full of good questions. Which of these protocols for mold and mycotoxin illness do you see as also being helpful for long COVID and vaccine injury? Okay. So I don't personally treat COVID, but I'm super always curious about medicine and all that. And so when I'm hearing about long COVID or vaccine injury, it's basically inflammation. Um, there's actually usually a huge like histamine component. There's a antioxidant depletion. There's often brain inflammation. So, like my friend's son had a background of asthma and childhood injury, and he reacted poorly to the vaccine. What's going on there? Like the body is reacting to a foreign substance. Now let's talk about long COVID. So COVID, there's a foreign, virus that comes in, the body's reacting, but it's overreacting. And some of those mechanisms are inflammatory and histamine. And then it's becoming systemic. It's like becoming chronic. Um, Similar to mold, like organ systems are being scrambled. Um, so I see just tons of similarities. I actually think a ton of this stuff is a great way to handle long haul COVID. And every time during early COVID, when I would get sick, what would I do? I would just detox and take my supplements. I haven't had COVID yet. So yeah, I think there's a lot of use in this. I'm not being super specific because I haven't really treated people that much. Another thing that I found out that came in through email, somebody asked, could COVID, or what did they say? Could having like histamine kind of mast cell activation syndrome make you more susceptible to COVID. So basically, like, is a pre-existing condition like we're talking about here making you more susceptible to COVID? So I looked it up and I actually found kind of the opposite, which was basically COVID can give you a mast cell activation syndrome. That's kind of what long haul COVID is. So all the stuff we're talking about applies to it. Even though the way it acts is so much like mold in the aftermath, like neurological issues, right? Like concentration issues. So I think reducing inflammation, antioxidant status, working on your gut health, detoxifying, it's all good. It's all, I think, potentially helpful. I met one woman who's had been like a X-ray tech kind of person and young, got long haul COVID. And we were chatting and she's like, well, I'm waiting to see my neurologist and this and that. And like, so far, no one had done anything for her. And she just really wasn't open minded to this kind of functional medicine approach, which was too bad because she can't even work. She's under 30 and you know, she's really suffering and she just is still waiting on the medical community to fix her. So I hope she found some solutions, but frankly, if she had, you know, seen a functional neurologist or, you know, gotten more into this like route of functional medicine, I think there's a ton of benefit to it. So another great question. Mouth taping is basically just putting a piece of tape over your mouth when you go to bed. And again, the idea is because mouth breathing is bad for us in a lot of ways, it just forces you to breathe through your nose at night. So if you have a stuffy nose, you can do like a nasal spray or a neti pot type of thing. But most of us aren't that stuffed up. But if you're really stuffed up, probably shouldn't tape your mouth. But there's lots of ways to open your nose. So yeah, it's pretty simple, but it made a big difference for me in my recovery. How soon before or after sauna would you take binders, and which ones are the best for what's being released in the areas they are being stored? Which one's best for what's being released in the areas they're being stored? Um, so I think you can take the binder before you get in or after you come out. It's not super strict. If you are going to do like a glutathione before you go in that's part of like my sauna boosting protocol, then take the binder later because you're not supposed to take them together. But I don't think it's too super strict besides that. Um I'm not sure what you mean about for the area being stored. Are you asking, Michael, like if you should go kind of area specific? Because that's an interesting question we could get into. Most binders work in the gut. A few claim to work in the bloodstream. Some of the like there's like a micro zeolite. I don't know how much proof there is that they get into the bloodstream or not. So I just say focus on the gut. Toxins will be released into your gut. So they get processed in the liver, they get put in the bile, and then they get put in your large intestine. It's one route, right? So it's one major route. So we're basically wanting to bind up in those intestines so that they don't recirculate. And different binders do have a different affinity to certain heavy metals or mycotoxins or blah, blah, blah. That's why I formulated one that's a combo. So it covers a lot of bases. So if you can tolerate a combo, I like a combo. Another way is to do binder rotation. Like this month I'm taking zeolite, next month I'm taking pectin, that kind of a thing. I think there can be a little too much focus on like taking the right binder for the job. And I would just either rotate or do a combo because even if you test your urine and you say, I have this mold, Well, you only tested 1 day. You don't know what other molds you have, right? Mold's like a complex system, organism, like you don't know. So don't get too focused on just removing one thing because all the things are making you sick, right? At this point, probably you've got die off from bacteria, you've got chemicals, you've got parasites, you've got heavy metals, like we all do pretty much. So I just like a more comprehensive approach. Another thing I never put in a protocol is you could actually dry brush before you get in the bind in the sauna. That could help get some circulation going too. My friend who owns Sunlightens likes says exercise before you get into the sauna or do some yoga. So there's ways to kind of like really max out your sauna experience using any of those things. Okay, so Michael was asking, yeah, I mean, Michael, I love to support the liver in general. Like, I think the broccoli sprouts are good, B vitamins are good. Um, if you tolerate eggs, sulfur containing foods, Epsom salts, cruciferous vegetables, the liver likes a lot of protein, so high quality protein. So there's some things that specifically go to, focus on the liver. Again, like broccoli sprouts, onion and garlic are good for the liver. And then it's an interesting question, Michael, because you could think about, different areas. There's certainly like foods that are good for the kidney or foods that are good for the gut. We got a lot of attention on aloe recently. It's in our formula, but aloe is really nice for the gut. Marshmallow tea is nice for the gut. So there's just, yeah, a lot of ways to think about everything. You can think about the brain and how to get toxins out of the brain, but there's definitely a lot of overlap too. So if I think about, removing toxins in general, getting more fibers and if you don't tolerate fibers well, taking enzymes, slowly diversifying like which vegetables you have. This is good for your microbiome. It helps restore leaky barriers in the gut, which also restores leaky barriers in the brain. So that's why the base of a microbiome friendly diet is so important. And then avoiding like sugars and processed foods that are going to feed the wrong bacteria and get things going the other direction. And then things like good fats, like from clean fish and nuts and avocado. Your brain really is very fatty. It needs good fats. And it definitely needs fish oil. That cannot be skipped. So either you're eating good quality fish sources a few times a week, or you're taking fish oil. I mean, your brain just freaking needs it. It will literally destroy neurons to harvest DHA if you don't consume it, which is scary. So I kind of went on a tangent there, but a lot of things are just, I guess I want to say like overlapping, right? So um, some things that are good for your gut are good for your brain. Some things that are good for your gut are also good for your liver. So just eating that like rich whole food diet can go a long way. And then even just, a handful of supportive supplements for the gut, for antioxidant status, go a long way. The good news is your body does want to do its job, right? It wants to filter toxins, it wants to eliminate. So it's just giving it a little help where you're seeing that things are lacking. And in our next call, we'll go more into that. Like if you aren't sleeping well or you're not pooping well or you're really fatigued, like what are ways in each camp you can support yourself in particular, because their symptoms are just showing you where your body is struggling. So that's like the good thing about symptoms is we can get those as a little clue about what to do next. Awesome. Thank you guys. Yeah, Michael, I will check on the email thing. And believe it or not, sometimes emails don't get delivered. So a thing you wouldn't think is a real thing. But since we deliver from a big email sender. Sometimes things don't get delivered, but I'll check and make sure that email went out. We'll also send a replay of this call for you. And then a few more announcements. Monday is our next call with a guest. It's Brian Carr from Yes We Inspect. So we'll be talking about the home and ERMI results. I think we're going to look at some different ERMI results. He's kind of an expert. So it's 1 p.m. Pacific. I'll make sure an email goes out. It will be in the Facebook group and the YouTube Live. And I mentioned earlier that I'll add one more call doing case studies, and we'll make that a Zoom link so we can bring people on a little bit easier. Oh, another thing I'm working on is doing more interviews of people who have success stories. So you don't have to be like totally all the way out. But if you have moved out of your house, you have made improvements, just hearing about what worked for you, what you learned, is something we'll probably do like a call out to see if you're interested in doing that. The binder I mentioned comes out tomorrow, and it comes with a guidebook and a webinar with me. And we always have a 30-day return policy. So if for some reason the binder totally doesn't fit for you, there's really no risk. You can get your money back. And we just want your feedback too on how it works for you, what dosage works for you. So you'll see some emails about that. And I think the last thing is, if you are willing to leave a book review, I have a bonus for you for doing so as a thank you. And that is in here. So to leave a review on Amazon, you just look up the book, you tap on the stars, and you say write a review. So it's pretty easy. And then you can access this bonus. Unfortunately, it doesn't let me post to Facebook very well, so I'm going to just put the link to get your bonus if you leave a review here. It's under, I think it's called Step 3. And I'll put that in the Facebook group in the next email. Yeah, I apologize, Michael. So I'm not really sure what happened, but we did have some people on yesterday. What did we talk about yesterday? Oh yeah, we talked with the attorney. That was really great. So I'll send out that link as well. She was really lovely. She's a mold attorney. So anyway, Monday, 1 Pacific, 4 Eastern will be the next call with Brian Carr about home mold testing and inspecting, and probably he'll cover some remediation as well. So I'll give a bunch of notes in afterwards. Thanks for people who were on today. I apologize if the wasn't put out correctly. Also, maybe I apologize for doing it on a Saturday morning. I just thought maybe people would like this, but it might be an odd time. All right. Thanks, everybody. I will see you Monday. Have a great weekend.